Imagine an update so broken it shattered all established rules of the game. From game-breaking balance changes to outright reworks of entire sections of the game. The game's stability was never worse than it was then. That is the Paragon's DLC and the co-op update. Stellaris is governed by some very basic set of rules. One of them being the direct connection between economy and military. A big economy will mean a big military. But what happens when this rule is broken? You can easily beat someone with double your economy just by simply having 10% more discounts. But how? Before the update, just to achieve negative 65% ship upkeep would need a combination of a late game tech, tons of unity, and being a max level crisis empire all at the same time. As the actual effect of the reduction increases, the higher the reduction number is. You could think of it as an exponential graph, where a small movement can result in wildly different results. For example, comparing a reduction of 40% to 60% is like comparing apples to watermelons. Noticeable, but not earth-shattering differences. After the update, you just need some guys at the council to achieve a whopping negative 90% reduction in upkeep. Forget watermelons, it's like comparing apples to entire mountains. You pay 4 times less compared to someone else having 60% reductions. As for some reason, the ship upkeep modifier is applied after the modifier for ship upkeep reduction is done. As a result, you can actually go over naval cap by a whopping 10 times, as 10% of the upkeep multiplied by 10 is just 100%, aka the normal amount of upkeep. I actually have a video basically showcasing the insanity of this very fact in one of the biggest battles to ever be, where around 30,000 naval cap worth 40 million fleet power clash. The game barely worked, and the entire battle took something around the ballpark of 5 hours to simulate. Those numbers are only possible through the insanity that is negative 90% ship upkeep reductions. This is not even mentioning the insanity that is 90% ship cost reductions. If you think going 10 times over naval cap is absurd, how about building 10 times more ships at the same time? Just for reference, if you have 90% reductions, you pay half of what someone with 80% reductions would. The higher the discount, the more exponential the effect. Thankfully, there is an absolute minimum of 10% for everything, because otherwise, free would be a thing, and free would truly be game-shattering. Not to mention the resource-generating traits as well, which in essence made these leaders not only buff your economy, but also a part of it. It's actually a legit strategy to have something in the ballpark of 100 of these bad boys, making your entire economy subsist completely off of leaders. I've also completely glossed over the absolute slew of insane bonus stacking with Planet Eco bonuses. As you probably got the point already, it didn't just double or triple the average economy and military, it basically just quintupled them or even more, which contributed to significant game slowdowns in both single player and multiplayer. But wait, I have to preface that making videos is very time consuming, and without the support of sponsors like Star Trek Fleet Command, it's impossible to continue making videos like this one. Star Trek Fleet Command is a great game to play while you're on a plane, bus, or even train ride, because instead of just doing nothing, you can instead play with friends, forge alliances, or even make enemies all the while passing the time. If you're interested, you can download the game using the QR code on screen or by using my link down below. Back to the video. So to recap, you basically pay peanuts to build and maintain a ship. Economy is buffed by a large amount by leaders simply existing, and leaders can just generate resources out of thin air. You might think that these would be hard to pull off, but it's actually trivially easy to do. Just wait for your leaders to refresh every few years, and hire the ones with broken traits. That's literally it, from pros to noobs. If everyone's overpowered, then nobody is. Paradox, probably. Many people I've known quit because of the changes introduced. Some are not even related related to the DLC at all, as the accompanying update, more specifically the co-op portion, basically nuked multiplayer stability to the ground. Constant crashes, constant desyncs, and the worst part is, you don't even need to be using the co-op features for these things to happen. The very addition of co-op as a feature itself has broken multiplayer as a whole. Now, after a few months, the Paradox team finally realized how far they've messed up and slowly reverted the changes one by one. Ship costs and upkeep reductions causing insane amount of ships? Gone. Leader resource production making for some game-breaking strategies? Gone. Beelining leader traits allowing for some insane amounts of economy? Gone. Co-op breaking multiplayer features and stability? Gone. Wait, no. That stayed. Co-op, a multiplayer feature designed to make multiplayer more interesting, has single-handedly obliterated the multiplayer community in both roleplay and competitive servers. As the issues prop up too much, simply too much, it is truly unbearable to have half, if not more, of the game time simply dedicated to either hot joins or rehosts. And these issues are in vanilla. Imagine what modded was like. Now, you would assume the next update would be better, right? Hahaha, no. Astral planes brought forth rifts. In an ironic turn of events, they're very lore accurate, as in spatial distortions causing the complete collapse of reality. They cause crashes, and lots of them. Their very existence is a cognito hazard that destroys the simulation in both single player and multiplayer. Multiplayer servers now just specifically disable astral planes in general just to make things barely playable. And despite all of this, there is still a small group of people willing to go through all the trouble just to experience multiplayer. Honestly, if they do still play in this state, they are either masochists, obsessed, crazy, or all of the above. I'm one of those people. Hi, it sucks so much. The main thing that makes this game special is the interaction between empires. These empires being played by people like you and me just enhances the game to a level that makes all the pain bearable. Now the game's in a state when multiplayer is just unplayable. Honestly, if co-op and astral planes didn't get rushed so badly, things wouldn't have gotten this bad. Paragons was also supposedly broken due to things being rushed out without proper balance being taken into account. If any of the Stellaris team is watching this, please don't rush things again like the last few updates. It ruins the game. And the flatlining player counts seem to agree. Previous DLCs seem to always have big bumps in player numbers and more or less a positive reception. Not Paragons, especially astral planes. People did not like it. If things are not ready, we can wait. And if you need feedback, keep it in the beta branch on Steam. It would have prevented so many disasters that ran rampant for the last year. The policy of using the wider community as live beta testers has gone too far this time, as now stability is at an all-time low and there's not much anyone can do about it. If this issue is not addressed promptly, I do fear that multiplayer will actually just die out. Sure, a minuscule amount of players actually use the co-op features, but when they do use it, finding it in such a broken state does not inspire much confidence, while making multiplayer in general difficult to recommend to their peers. Heck, I started playing through friends suggesting the game on a free weekend 4 years ago. If multiplayer was broken back then, I wouldn't be here today. Not to mention the amount of potential content that can pull people into the game being extremely small otherwise, as interactions between people is much more interesting to watch compared to interactions between AIs. I'm looking at you, EP3O. I also feel especially bad for modders. Oh, the poor sots. They had to put out so many patches just to fix the compatibility issues. Maybe one day we'll reach a utopian state where multiplayer is stable or at the very least bearable. But alas, that seems like a far-off dream. But one can only hope for the future, as this is truly the update that broke Stellaris. thank you to Alaya West and many others on Patreon. My upload schedule has been awful recently, and I do apologize for that. But starting this year, I want to at least upload more than once a month. So here's a start to that.